Here's what we're doing today, guys. We're creek smallie fishing. Here is the first fish I pulled out. He's got a weird little gash on him, but should be a day filled with these beautiful little guys right there. Well, guys, that fish was great news. Welcome back to another episode. I'm driving back from Ben's right now. I'm actually driving to Cincinnati, not back. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this creek right here behind me, I've seen it a couple times when driving back down to school, but I've never fished it. I finally stopped and fished it. First bridge that I stopped on, basically the first deep hole, I caught a bass. So I think right now I got some time. We're gonna do some little creek smallie wading. Got a little Senko and a tiny buzzbait. Hopefully we can catch a lot of fish because I don't think anyone ever fishes here, and these are the best rivers to fish. This is all I'm fishing, a little 4-inch finesse worm. It's important. I like the thinner finesse worms better because they have more tail action when they fall than 4-inch Senkos. 4-inch Senkos are kind of limp. I'm walking on the bridge right now, seeing what I can see really, because it's a pretty deep hole. Ooh, I see a smallmouth. I'm gonna go down and cast at those fish. I see two nice, like 12, 15-inch smallmouth down there. Please don't hit me. I have smallmouth to catch. Woo! Dude, it's ripping. There's another fish. I knew there had to be another one under this bridge. Come here. Oh, that's a nice one. Creek smallies are so cool. I'd almost rather catch these fish than 5.5 pounders on the Great Lakes. Almost. Not quite, but almost. Look at the color of this fish. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous fish. And look where he lives. Perfect, cool little creek. Nice habitat for him. Beautiful fish. That's a good start right here. Okay, well, I guess people do fish here. Strike King Bitsy Minnow. Great for panfish, trout, crappie, and bass. Not great for throwing on the ground. I think I've caught everything out of this hole that there is to catch. I hope at least. I hope I didn't leave anything behind. But time to move down river a little bit and search for some holes that are less pressured, because on creeks like this, rivers, anything like that, the easiest access points are always going to have the least amount of fish because it's the easiest access. People are going to fish it the most. Oh, there's a nice smallmouth on the buzzbait. Oh, first cast in that big slack pool. Big explosion. Oh yeah, that's a big one. Wow. Did not expect that. Look at this fish. Look at this fish. The humpback of Notre Dame. Look at how tiny this creek is. What a beautiful fish. Wow. He hammered that buzzbait. Look at him. This fish to me is just as impressive as a 5-6 pounder on the Great Lakes, because that's about as big as I get there. This is a tiny creek. I can't see this creek holding fish much bigger than this. What a find. I mean, it's not a huge smallmouth. It's just like a 2-pounder, like a 15-incher, but wow. That is so cool catching it out of this creek on Topwater. Now, some of you might be asking yourself, Chris, why are you freaking out about that fish? It's not even that big of a smallmouth. And no, it's not. But I grew up in Chicago. I fish creeks like this for smallmouth all the time. The problem is they were so high pressured, size creeks like this just never got fished that big at all. So for a fish like that to come out of this creek, that just means that no one's touching it and it's pretty preserved. And that's honestly a rare thing nowadays. There's one. Got the other rod in my hand. Yes, another smallmouth. I'd cast it. Oh, not a smallmouth. Not a smallmouth at all. A huge rock bass. He got a nose ring too. He just completely missed. That explains why nothing hit the buzzbait. There's just a little chunky little rock bass here. All right, we got a little diversity in the creek. We got a couple smallmouth, now a rock bass. Oh, okay, this one's a little heavier. There's a school of fish over there. I don't know what this one is. This has got to be a smallie. Oh yeah. Creek gold. Beautiful little smallmouth. This is really a struggle having to hold 2 rods while wading a creek. I don't know what it is about the creek smallmouth, but I've never met anyone that does not love creek smallmouth fishing. What a find. This is the perfect creek smallmouth 1-2 punch. You get your topwater bait, buzz bait, little popper, walker, any of them will work almost the same way. Basically those baits just target bigger, more aggressive fish. And then the cleanup is with the small Senko. Or you can fish a little grub too, just something finesse, something big. That's at least how I fish creeks. I start with the big bait, try to get a big fish to react first, and then I slow it down and pick apart the area. Because creeks like this, a lot of it is really shallow and they're only gonna live in certain areas, so you gotta maximize your bites. There's a good one. There is a good one. Oh, what a gorgeous smallmouth. Another nice one. I feel like it's just getting repetitive. Every fish I just say is gorgeous, beautiful. It's because they are. My one true love are smallmouth. Look at the colors on this thing. Come on, you're going around my legs. Beautiful, perfect creek fish. Look at that. Perfect mouth. No marks on them anywhere. I mean, seriously, these are just flawless looking smallmouth. This is such a healthy creek. Oh, I will never get tired of that. I don't care that they're only 12 to 15 inches. Those are big fish for a little creek like this. I'd assume that they max out at about like 17, 18 inches, so those are nice big fish. Still have the same worm too. It's getting a little bit of bends in it, but still getting the job done. And this creek is really unique too, because see those rock formations, how there's kind of like step stools almost? That's how it is in the river too. I'm in about a foot of water here, and then there's a ledge and it drops off into like 4 foot. And these fish are all sitting in that hole. So this worm's gotten pretty dusty on me. You can see that bend right there. There's a couple other ones. It's just really torn up. It's caught a lot of fish. So I'm gonna put a new worm on, and I'm also gonna show you guys how it looks underwater and why I prefer these smaller finesse worms to these fatter Senkos. So here's the Senko. I'm just gonna drop it in front of the camera. You can see not much action. When you bring it up, there's a good amount of flutter. But what I like in Senkos is the falling action. This thing doesn't have much of an action when it falls, but when you rise it, it has a little bit of a wiggle. Now this little finesse worm, when this thing falls, it has a much better wiggle in it, because a Senko's a do-nothing worm. All I'm doing is I'm casting it out, I'm letting it fall, twitching it maybe a little bit, and then reeling it in. So you can see on this one, there's much more shake on the way down. There's a good amount of shake on the way up too, but when that worm is falling, it is shimmying perfectly and is a much better action than that thicker plastic of the Senko. 5-inch Senkos are great for this type of action, but when you go down to 4 and 3-inch Senkos, they don't really have that great falling action that you need. So that's why I go to a little finesse worm like this guy right here. So this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, in that there's not much habitat in this creek for them. All the way back there is where I caught those fish, and this whole section here has just been inches of hard bottom. And when I say hard bottom, I mean literally just hard bottom. It's like one solid rock. It's just all flat. There's a little bit of sections of sand and gravel, but most of it is just this flat rock. So there's a little rapid that dumps in right there, and I think I'll be able to catch some fish there if it's deep enough. And then there's a big slack pool section that I'm pretty sure we'll have fish. Then I don't know how much farther down I'm gonna walk, because I've walked a pretty good distance. Oh, there's a nice smallmouth. Dropping the rod. All right, I got him up the rapids. Yes. Wow, I thought this fish was way bigger. I just sunk my spinning rod. Oh, there goes all the grease in my reel. Hell yeah. I super overreacted. I thought this was gonna be another big fish. Well, I wasn't wrong. There was good fish in that spot. First cast with that buzzbait always gets the most aggressive fish. I thought that was like a 15 to 18 incher. This is a little 12 incher. Wow, he came out of inches of water. Thank you, friend. I love these fish way too much. I super overreacted there. Dumped my spinning rod for no good reason at all. Sliced my finger up somehow. But none of that matters because we caught the fish. My little minnow bait keeps falling down. Yeah, that's all I'm catching them on too. A tiny little 1/4 ounce buzzbait with a paddle tail on the back. Need to compose ourselves better. I don't know when I'm gonna upload this video, but I just freaked out on that fish more than I did with the giant smallmouth of Lake Huron. What is this? This bass is breathing. Oh my God. He's connected to fishing line. What? Look at this. He's connected to fishing line. And he ate, oh my God. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave him right there. He's not going anywhere. Let's see if I can perform some surgery. Well, I guess people do fish this river. What the hell? I don't have a knife. Look at, he ate someone's tube jig. This is a recent fish too. It's still alive. Oh my God. This is how hardy fish are. Look at this. That's the hook right there. It's coming out of his body. Well, fish, I'm really sorry for you, but it's not looking good. I don't know how he got caught on this stick. I think what happened was someone upriver must have broke him off with a bunch of line on it, and he got tangled up in this stick. While I almost fall on my ass. The fish is still doing great. Like, it's got a lot of energy. I did not think I'm gonna be able to get this out. Because the top of the tube is right there, and the hook is coming out right there. Like somebody's using a 4 and 5 inch tube in a tiny creek. Okay, now I was just able to cut the line with my teeth. There's the tube jig. Wish I had hook cutters. I think this guy is just SOL. Unfortunately, I've been fumbling here for like 15 minutes with this gorgeous little smallmouth. That hook right there, that hook is completely in there. I've tried many times to kind of push it into his body while pulling the tube jig out to try to maybe pull the tube jig out of his mouth, but it's just not happening. And the tube can't come through that little hole because it would dig too big of a hole in his side and he'd be dead that way too. So I think, unfortunately, I'm just going to have to let him go with that tube. But, I mean, it's just completely clogging his mouth. I don't think he'll be able to eat. I feel really bad. I mean, this is a really pretty creek smallmouth. He still has a lot of energy. He just got caught in this branch. Unfortunately, this tube is just way too pinned. I think the best thing for the fish is just to let him go and hope he can survive. Because if I pull it out either way, that's just going to kill him now. At least with that tube in his mouth and him freed from the branch, he has a little bit of chance of survival now. If that tube somehow works its way out, or maybe he can still feed with it in there, I don't know. Still pretty irresponsible to be using a lure that big in a creek this small, and God, this is just a mess. Well, time to pick this up before other wildlife gets stuck in it. That sucks. I hate to see that. That fish is screwed. The only way I could have gotten that out is if I would have had like heavy grade like wire cutters, and if I could have like cut that hook end off and then maybe pulled the tube out. But still, even that little bit of curve in the hook, it would have just cut up his insides when I try to pull it out. God, what in the hell? I'm in the middle of nowhere here, so I can't imagine people were fishing from shore here. This fish must have ripped a bunch of line out and then just swam downriver. Look at this. This is just gross. Look at all this line. How does someone break off this much line? This is how much line that fish had connected to him. So eventually he just got it stuck on a branch, and I mean, he was pinned upside down for God knows how long. That just shows you guys how hardy a bass is, but it doesn't matter how hardy something is, it's gonna die when it has a freaking hook wedged in his throat. That was depressing. We were having such a great day on the creek, catching a lot of great fish, and then we have to see that. Oh, big one. Shot out of the willows. That was so epic. The second this thing landed, he came after it so hard. Whew. I will never get tired of these creek smallies. You never know how big they are. You just never know. I would have bet money that this thing was 18 inches. Creek smallmouth are the coolest thing. This one, beautiful, alive. No tube jig in his belly. Oh, what a fish. It's not even that big. It's like a 14, 15 incher. See ya, bud. A GoPro's perfect for showing a first person perspective and telling the story of the day. That's why everyone pretty much uses them, but stuff like that you miss out on. I casted that buzzbait probably 5 feet from those willows. The second this buzzbait landed, there was a huge wake from inside the willows, and this fish shot out probably 10 feet and just immediately cranked this buzzbait. Seeing as though I've caught a decent amount of fish in that like 14 to 16 inch range, that might legitimately be the maximum size out of this creek. Maybe 17, 18 like I said, but I mean, this is a tiny shallow creek. There's just not a lot of food here. It might not seem like it, but I've been here for almost 4 hours. The hardest part about creek fishing is having to stop creek fishing, because I could spend all day wading 10 miles of this. Every time you turn the corner and think that's it, there's something just on the horizon that looks so good you just want to keep walking and keep fishing it. But I gotta walk back to the car now, especially since I'm not entirely sure if I parked in a legal spot, so really hope my car is still there. Well guys, this is pretty ridiculous at this point. Some dude is just an asshole. I think some dude loves killing bass, I really do. This is a completely different fish than the one I just cut the line of. And guess what? It's a bass with red line, which is what the other one was, and a tube jig down his mouth. And this fish is dead. So this dude's an asshole, loves using way too big of lures for tiny creek smallmouth, and then loves breaking them off with way too much line so they get snagged on stuff and die. That really pisses me off, because this is a beautiful untouched river, and this is 2 perfectly good smallies that this dude has killed. There's probably even more. I mean, if there's 2, there's gotta be more. This guy, unfortunately, I couldn't save. Or at least try to save. That fish, I think, the fish earlier is probably gonna meet the same fate as this guy. Might as well get the line out of the river and get a raccoon some food or something. What a waste. How do you break off with like 50-pound mono? Like, this is heavy stuff. That makes me sick. What a waste. It's one thing if you're harvesting a fish to keep to eat. It's another thing if you're just breaking them off and leaving them to die, because that's just a complete waste of a resource. Didn't ruin my day on this beautiful creek, but that is just really, really sad to see. Well guys, I'm bummed I didn't have the camera on. Yeah, this is a really weird angle. My GoPro died and I didn't change the battery since I was walking back. You always gotta fish your way back. This is probably my last fish of the day, because I am now almost back to my car. There's so many leaves there. Here's my last beautiful little creek smallie. From this creek, at least. I fired that buzzbait up in that current. She came up and crushed it, skied out of the water 2 feet. Was not expecting that. Look at my GoPro's just dead. It's just dead. Wish I would have captured that, but oh well. I was gonna end it in my car, but probably gonna end it here. Creek bass fishing is one of my absolute favorite things to do. It is one of the most American things I can think of, bass fishing in creeks. It seems everyone I know that loves fishing has always fished in a creek for bass, so it's a very relatable thing to do. I love doing it. It's a lot more relatable than taking a big bass boat out on a great lake and using big expensive grafts to catch fish. So this is a much more simpler way to catch smallmouth, and it is arguably just as fun. So I hope you guys all enjoyed, and go hit some creeks near you. Go catch some creek bass. Go out and explore, because it is an absolute blast.